Hi everyone, welcome back to Rob's Funk and Junk podcast, episode 42. The date is the 17th of May. I'm sat in my studio. I hope you're all well out there. I hope you've all had a great week. It's Friday everywhere today. Let me just turn my mic up a bit. 1, 2. I will eventually get the hang of this. And hang on a minute, I'm going to change my mic model as well. 1 second. Changing my mic model using the SM7 thing. I've got one of those. I don't know if anyone knows about them, but I've got one of these mic modeling things here. See the Universal Audio mic sphere. So I don't know why I'm using an SM7. I just am. But yeah, because I've got an SM7 and that's what I used before for my podcast. Hang on a minute. 1 second. I'm just getting technical things here happening. Pop shield, all that stuff. So, I was just... I've had a bit of a quiet week. It's been... a quiet week. I've not had a load of work on. I had a gig last night. No sessions this week. Just been doing loads and loads of work in the garden, which is it's quite good for my brain this week. I've gone yet another week without drinking booze, which is good. I'll be 5 weeks on Sunday of no alcohol, while I'm feeling so much better, and I have dropped a few of the old chubby pounds off the old, off the face and the body. I've dropped probably, I think, about 3 kilos in the last 5 weeks, so that's pretty good. I'm pleased about that. But I must say, I wasn't prepared for. I've never quit drinking alcohol before. I've never done it before. So, I've taken little breaks, like a couple of days here and there. But since lockdown, it was it sort of got a bit out of hand, to be honest. It would be gin o'clock at 2 o'clock during lockdown. But I just decided to have a bit of a break, and I must say I'm quite enjoying it. It's quite nice. My anxiety isn't enjoying it though. I've had so much anxiety in this last couple of weeks, which, from what I gather, is due to basically the stuff in your body, all the chemicals in your body are sort of getting themselves back in order again. And I must say, there's been some white knuckle moments in the last couple of weeks with anxiety, but it does seem to be leveling out a bit. A bit of meditation and talking to friends, and talking to Ray. I've kept on top of it, but yeah, it's not an easy ride. It just makes you think what alcohol does. As I've said probably before, I didn't start drinking until I was 40. And I'm finding physically I feel so much better. But it's it's just the anxiety. It's been pretty full on. But yeah, I'm okay. Don't worry about me. I'm fine. You probably sensed it in my last couple of episodes in the last 2 podcasts that I've been a bit introspective, and I've actually received loads and loads of lovely messages about some of those. A couple of people have reached out, sort of, sending me messages, sending me emails, and commenting on a few things, saying how important music is. I was talking about how important music is to help your brain, to give you that meditative feeling of not having to think about stuff that might be on your mind. And someone reached out to me. I won't say who it is, but if you're watching it or listening, you'll know who you are. And he sort of said, fellow guitar player, said, it's absolutely right. When you go through a hard time, picking up your instrument can really, really help and just take you away for that period of time. And it's almost like you've had a little soak. So I think we forget, there's a lot of stuff nowadays. There's a lot of stuff out there in the news and in, programs, and there's loads of stuff about mental health. But I kind of realised that this job is actually, it can be quite a solitary job. You're on your own quite a lot. It can be quite a lonely job sometimes, so you are with your thoughts a lot, especially if you're traveling. Like, for example, tomorrow I've got a gig. I'm going to be in the car for, maybe 2.75 hours. I'm going to be in a car on my own, driving to the gig, and your brain, you're obviously driving, but you're thinking a lot. And stuff comes up, and that's probably why I listen to a lot of podcasts, to be honest. But it can be quite a lonely thing. You're at airports, you're on flights, you're sitting there for quite a long time just with your thoughts sometimes. So a good I'm trying to do it myself. I'm not great at it, but I'm trying to get better. But a bit of meditation is perhaps in order. I'm trying to sort of fit that into my day sometimes, a bit of meditation. But yeah, it's you forget, some people, everyone, right? No one gets through life without some kind of grief and stress, and to varying degrees. Everyone's going through it, and that's why it's really good to talk. Really, really good to talk to people and have friends, family, or even if you have to go and pay someone to talk to. I think it's really good to talk and get stuff off your chest. And yeah, I can advise that to anybody. Even if you talk to yourself. I talk to myself a lot. I'm doing it now, talking to myself. Well, I'm not. I'm talking to anyone out there that's listening. But actually, sometimes it can feel like you're talking to yourself. So when I do get comments and people sort of write in and say things, it makes me feel like I'm going slightly less mad, and I'm not just prattling on to myself in my little green studio. But yeah, what have I been up to? So as I said, I've been a bit quiet. I'm taking on a few students. So if anyone out there is looking for some lessons, sadly, I've been getting some messages in about lessons, and they've all been going into spam, into my junk folder. They've not been coming to me. So anyone out there who fancies a little one-to-one lesson or a Zoom, or, if you're able to come here for a lesson, I'm up for doing a bit of teaching because I'm going to be around a little bit. I'm not touring so much this year. We're doing the new Jamura album, so it's going to be very sporadic studio bits. And I'm just here. So yeah, drop me a line if I'm able to fit you in, and we can do some lessons if anyone wants one. Drop me a line at robsfunkandjunk@gmail.com, or reach out to me on Instagram, or leave me a comment here. But probably best at robsfunkandjunk@gmail.com. I've also had a little bit of interest in the thing that I was talking about last week, where I'm looking to book a studio and do a 2-day recording course. Invite 5 or 6 students to a studio which is down the road, called Headline Studios, which is an amazing facility. And I'm just looking at sort of getting people down to that, and we'll do 2 days of recording. Pick a couple of tracks. I'll be discussing tone choices, recording methods, using amps, using modelers, using plugins, doing acoustic guitar recording, tracking guitars, all that kind of stuff. I just thought it'd be fun to help people when anyone's at home recording and is a bit lost with how to get things done, so I do a hell of a lot of that stuff. And even though it's in the studio, I will be doing it based on the fact that you're at home. I'll try and make it feel like so I'll be explaining how to do that kind of stuff at home, because most recording these days does take place in home studios. What else have I been up to? I'm taking on, or I'm looking, I actually started a little bit this morning. Is that even a sentence? Taking on no, it's not a sentence. I have been asked to go on the list for Depping for a musical in London. I won't say what it is yet, because it's very, very. I went to go and sit in. What usually happens is you go and sit in with the guitar player, because they're doing 8 shows a week. They can't always, it's absolutely exhausting doing 8 shows a week. So it's good to go on a Depp list so you can go and sit in when they need a day off here and there, or if they've got another gig on or something. So for me, I'm always up for a bit of a challenge, and this is a challenge. It's a lot of music to learn, and I will have to learn it, because I'm not an amazing music reader. I can't sight read. I can sight read charts. I can read charts, but I can't sight read music notation very well. I'm very, very slow at it. It's not something I ever really enjoyed practicing or doing, and I don't get asked to do a lot of that stuff. I don't do a lot of that type of work, which some people, I think a lot of people, especially non-musicians, they find that when someone doesn't read music, they find it very odd. You're a professional musician and you don't read music. But for 99.999% of the work I do, I don't have to read anything. I just it's either coming up with parts or learning a set of music that's already there, or in a session, I'm mostly hired as a creative person to come up with guitar parts. So taking on and learning a show, a West End show, is a huge thing for me. I've done it a few times in the past, and my modus operandi of whatever, if that's the right thing to call it, I will sit and learn it all. The last one was 84. The one I did before was 84 pages of music, and it was fairly simple, but that's a lot of stuff to learn. And what I do is I use the music as a cue, a visual cue, so I can see a figure that's written down, music notation, but I'll have already learnt it. And that's what this guy who I saw yesterday, because what happens is you go and sit in to see how the show runs. It's a stressful gig. I find that has been one of doing a musical reading in the pit is super stressful. Different kind of stress from doing a tour and playing in front of lots of people, but it's you're in the pit with what they call proper musicians, are all great readers, and they do it every single day. So you go and sit in with the guitar player and you watch how he does the show, and there's lots of guitar changes. This particular show is about 3 hours long, and it's music all the way through. So I watched him yesterday. He was amazing, and he's a great player, a guy called Wraith, and I only met him the other day, but he's amazing and plays great, sounds great, and he does this show every day, so he's brilliant on it. But there's a lot of music to learn and a lot of rhythms to read, which is good. It's good for me. I really want to do it. It's a challenge. It's probably going to take me a while to go through it and learn it, but I'll probably start by listening to the musical, on these long car journeys. I'll start listening to it, and the music's really cool as well, I must say. I actually quite enjoyed it, and it's a disciplined thing. You know, it's very different from what I'm usually doing, and I quite like that. Sometimes it pushes me in a different way, and this will hark back to things that I, mentioned before. Just saying yes to things, saying yes because the challenge is going to be good, not necessarily because the money's going to be amazing, or not necessarily because the travel's going to be amazing. I'm very into just trying new things, and sometimes it pushes you into different areas that you wouldn't normally do. But if I can do this show and work on it and get a little bit more comfortable with sitting with music in front of me, get over the jokes of how do you get a guitar player to turn down. You put a music stand in front of him. I will, it will sort of hopefully push me in a place that I've not, push me out of my comfort zone. And I look forward to the challenge of that. Yes, I'm very much looking forward to it. I did actually start looking at it today, and I've got a lot to do. But I noticed with him in the pit yesterday, he wasn't reading the gig. He was using the music as a visual cue. Visual cue. Visual. Cool. That was like a Matt Berry toasting there. Visual. You ever say a word? What's that where you say a word and the word sounds really weird? When you think of a word, you just repeat it. And you just make yourself laugh like I just did, because I'm a bellend. But yeah, he was just using the music as a visual cue, and I'm sure there's a few things that he's got to read, but there's so much detail in this show, and my brain is. I suppose I've got to be doing something. If I'm not drinking alcohol every night, I could be learning some tunes. So that's a good idea. I did have some questions here. Someone sent me a huge long question. Where is it? And it's from someone called Araline. Araline, I don't know where you're from. Aralinette, I don't know where you're from. +34, where's +34? I don't know, I'm going to Google, where is +34? Hang on. Bear with me, caller. I'm going to Google where +34 is. +34 dialing code. Spain. Hi. Hi to Spain. Do you know what? Reading the first line of the email, it says, "Hi, hello Rob, I am Ari. Hi Ari. French living in the south of Spain, Marbella." There you go. Read before you talk. How's that? Thank you very much for your YouTube channel. I find it very interesting and entertaining, not to mention that I love Jamura since the beginning and find that the band contribution to music has been great and really unique. Thank you very much. I wasn't in it from the beginning, but that's okay. I don't take that personally. Yeah. Well, you would be surprised at how many people I had when I joined the band tell me that they preferred the band before I was in it. Imagine that. Imagine what that did to a young man's spirit. I also had one once where I'd just done a gig in London, and I was in a lift with my amp. This was at Earl's Court, I believe, in London, or Olympia, or somewhere like that. And I'd just done this gig, and I'm going down to the car park in a lift, one of those big sort of huge tradesman's lifts, with the weird sort of shuttery gate things. And I ended up in the lift with this dude who worked at the venue, or he was doing something at the event. I think I was playing at the bass show. I think I was doing something either with an old band I had called Shuffler, or I was playing with Yolanda Charles or something. But I was there in the lift, travelling down in my car, and I had my divided by 13 amp, speaker and cab, and my guitars and my pedal board and stuff. And this guy in the lift looked, and he looked over and went, "Oh man, that amp sounds, that sounds great. That sounded great." Pointed to my amp, and I just was like, "Oh, thank you, great." And he went, "No, not you, the amp." And I was like, "Okay, all right, thanks for that." Yeah, it's amazing what people think you're going to be okay with, and that you're going to be fine with. Anyway, I see me going off the beaten path a little bit. Ari said here, I have listed some questions here under that you may find interesting to develop your podcast. Thank you very much. I'll take that in a very good way. I would love to hear your thoughts and experience on these. Okay, number one. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I remember sort of reading this and thinking, oh, that's interesting. Play guitar. So number one is playing guitar, especially funk, seated versus standing up. What are the differences you find? Do you know what? I do both, so I don't really find too much of a difference. Obviously, on a gig, I'm standing up most of the time. Most of the time, I'm standing up. If I'm in a studio, I'm usually sitting down. So I know that there's some kind of thing about, getting into it and grooving, but, in a studio, I find I can be much more focused with my playing. A gig, I'm more, I'm probably performing a bit more, so a bit less. I don't know, actually, but you know what? That's something I will think about, because I've never really thought about that. I do tend to play with my guitar at a level that's similar to when I'm sitting down, which is, I think, helps my wrist and helps my neck, But as guitar players, we are quite often, if I'm sat in this chair for most of the day, I'm hunched over a guitar, So, I've been taught or been told that actually quite an important thing is to sort of reverse, do lots of stretches that reverse what you are doing, your normal posture. Okay, what else is there? Related subject. Number 2, related subject. What are your thoughts on posture? Especially when we're getting older. Well, yeah, I think it's very important. All you young'uns out there, just bear in mind, if you're spending a lot of time with a chunk of wood, like this beautiful thing here, your posture, you are leaning over. Like this, you're leaning over. It's probably not a natural position for you. So it does take a toll. Definitely takes a toll on your body. I've suffered a couple of slip discs in my neck. That was from doing a tour. I don't know. It's probably a mixture of things. Doing a tour where the sound checks were longer than the gig. So we would usually sound check every day for about 2.5 hours, and then the gig would be an hour and 45. So I had a guitar strapped around my neck, standing up for a good 4 or 5 hours a day. And when I came home from the tour, it was like 18 dates or something. The next day, I was in the most excruciating pain. And what had happened is I'd slipped 2 discs in my neck, or they ruptured or whatever. They were sort of bulging out, and it was extremely painful. So if you're out there spending a lot of time with your instrument, really take care of your posture if you can. Something I didn't even think about. I've been playing since I was 7, never thought about it, but I'm what am I now, 52? So what was that, 4 or 5 years ago that happened? Pre-COVID. It was probably a year before COVID. So Yeah, wasn't great, not great, and I've still got tingly, a little bit of pins and needles in my left thumb, and slightly on my wrist, and I can really tell if I'm overdoing it. I can really feel it in my neck, so I am aware. So posture is extremely important. Number 3. How do you equalize? I'm paraphrasing here. How do you equalize sound when you're playing alone in a band versus mix? Playing alone. How do you equalize sound when playing alone versus in a band mix and versus live? What are the differences? Yeah, playing alone, you're obviously filling a lot more space for yourself. So that's a chordal thing, something I've talked about a lot. You know, I play a lot more lower notes on the guitar when I'm playing alone. I perhaps have a little bit more bottom end on my guitar. I sort of have a little bit more low end when I'm on my own. In a band, I will EQ quite a lot of low end out of my amp or modeler, just so it doesn't interfere with the bass or the keyboard registers, and it cuts through the mix in the right way. And I learnt that just from talking to other guitar players, looking at how my sound is mixed when I'm going out. When we go out live, I'll always go out to the front of house guy and see what EQ that they're using on my guitar. I'll EQ it myself, but I see what they shave off and what they add and what they dip. So yeah, it's really important. EQ is very important, and it's also important not to over EQ. But when I'm using my pedal board, the graphic equalizer pedal I use all the time. When I'm tracking, I'm taking stuff out and boosting frequencies to make the sounds fit in a track. So yeah, it's really important. Great question. I want to do one more because there's loads. Right, number 4. What are your steps to find the sweet spot in the guitar amp? And is there any difference for real amp versus modelers? So, a sweet spot in a guitar amp for me, most amps, I will, I'll plug it in on the stage where it is, and I will find the volume that is suitable for where I'm standing, according to where I can hear myself next to the drums, next to the bass, and whatever else is going on stage. I don't ever want to be too loud, but I want to be loud enough that I'm not struggling to hear myself. I do like slightly lower wattage amps, because I think for me, they sound a little bit better. So I set them up so there's a little bit of a slight, when the amp's set clean, there's a slight bit of distortion on it. So if I hit really hard, it overdrives a tiny bit, and then I roll my volume back on my guitar, probably like down to sort of 8 or 9 sometimes. So I've got somewhere to go, but I also like the thing of rolling the volume back because it takes off a bit of the top end from the guitar. I like a warm sound. I don't really like anything that's too abrasive and cutting, too harsh, unless I really want that. And then it's the same for modelers. I kind of set the modeler up the same way, even though it does sound different. It does sound different to having an amp. But I'm used to it now. I'm used to both of them. I still love playing with my amps, and I love playing with the modeler. It's great. It's good. I do think that modelers now, especially for the way touring happens, if I'm touring and playing on a big stage, I'd probably, I'm working for an artist. If I was doing my own thing, I'd want my amp. I'd want an amp. But if I'm playing for an artist where I'm not the most important thing, and believe it or not, that does happen. Musicians aren't the most important thing on a tour. They're just a sum of the parts. I would probably go for a modeler because it gives me much more flexibility and consistency on night after night shows. So modeler, unless there's some digital glitch and it all dies, by which point I've got a backup, I will use a modeler, and I just find it's more consistent than using backline rental amps, which can also die, or traveling with my own really expensive boutique amps, which, you know, if the power in the venue is slightly different one night, the amp's going to feel and sound different. And then if I'm playing, if the microphones move slightly differently, it will change the tone, really, especially within ears. But yeah, that's that. Have I got time for one more? Well, how long have I been ranting? 31 minutes. Yeah, I'll do one more. 5. How do you analyse the sound of the guitar versus other instruments to achieve good cohesive mix where the guitar should be? How do you analyse the guitar? There's loads of questions here. How do you analyse the sound of guitar versus the singer? That's just all personal taste. For me, let's talk about recording. If I'm recording, I want to record my guitar parts at the volume that I think that they should be in the track. So if I'm playing something that wants to be up front, I want to record it like it's up front. I don't want to be too loud because it will make me play softer. I don't want to be too quiet because it will make me play harder. So I try and find the sweet spot, and that is completely material dependent, and that goes the same for a gig. For example, in my in-ears mix, I'm not just the way I do it, and I know other people do it differently. I don't have my guitar louder than everything else. It sits in the mix where I want it, where it would be as if it was on a record. And I have it loud enough so I can hear it, but also not too loud that I'm playing too softly. So, that's how I do that. What else? I'll do one more because there's loads here and they're great questions. When you play alone with a drum track, do you use a drum machine? If you do you program it, and would you recommend one to work with which is not too difficult or time consuming but still with great sounds? I don't use a drum machine. No. I play a lot to drum loops, and I play a lot to real drum loops. So I'll just go on Splice. These days I go on Splice, grab a drum loop. A drum machine will feel different to a real person playing, and I do a lot of both. So I like the thing of playing to a real drummer because you're constantly adjusting to their timing. Even better, playing with a real drummer in the room where they're adjusting to your timing, you're adjusting to their timing, and it all becomes this nice little gooey, feel-driven thing, right? That's really great. To work with drummers where you can see the whites of their eyes, and you're playing with them and they're playing with you. Oh, that sounds weird. You're playing together, but you get that kind of nice interaction, interplay and all that stuff. That is golden, right? That's brilliant. That's the way to make a record if you can. But that's not how it works. So I download loop packs off, like Nate Smith loop drums or something, or whoever there is, Sterloid or, Aaron Sterling's drum loops, where it's a human being playing, but it's a loop. You're playing to a loop of them. So there's still those slight timing discrepancies, and I don't mean speeding up or slowing down. I just mean just the feel, the human feel. I play with that, and I like the thing of playing with that kind of stuff, so I can sit with it well. Then drum machines make you play differently. I pride myself on being able to, if I can, play like a robot. If I have to, I want to play completely on it if I can, right? So I work with both, to be honest. A lot of the stuff I play on, if it's a dance track, it's usually drum loops, and what they want on that is they want the human element bringing in, but the human element plays around the rigidity of a drum loop or a drum machine. And actually, drum machines all have their own timing anyway. So if you were lucky enough to have a Linn drum, you would have your own. That has its own feel. A Linn drum has a specific feel, which is the sound of that drum machine. And that's why people still use it. I think people use that drum machine still all the time because it's got a really sort of great unique sound and it feels a certain way. How long have I been chatting? 36 minutes. But yeah, I've got a couple more questions here, but I'll perhaps do these next time. But in closing today, thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. I hope you're all good out there. Oh yeah, thanks to anyone who's been out and bought a Funk and Junk mug and some Funk and Junk t-shirts. I should have modelled mine. I've got a Funk and Junk t-shirt, but I forgot to wear it. And I don't want to be that guy who's, I did it last time with my mug. But yeah, it's thanks so much. It's great to have a little bit of support. Obviously I don't get paid anything for this channel. I've got, I think, over 10,000 subscribers now on the channel. So welcome to anyone that's new. I am intending to do a few little lesson-y videos. I've got a few little things cooking away in my brain that I want to post up about. But it's great. It really helps when people send in questions and little messages saying, oh, could you show us this and show us this? I have been meaning to do a pedalboard video as well, but I just haven't got round to it. But I will, I promise, to bore you all stupid with. But I am going to go and prepare myself because my wife and I are going out for an Indian meal tonight. Yes, a little bit of a Friday night date night where I will be having a non-alcoholic beer. But yeah, have a great week. Hopefully I'll see you next week and take care. Much love. See you soon. Bye.